All right, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. I am going to rank every single palette I tried in the year 2022. I tried 68 palettes this year. That's a lot. That's a lot. I'm not gonna talk too much. I'm gonna make this quick because we gotta get right to it. I was originally going to do only the palettes that I tried this year that came out this year, because I did try quite a lot of palettes that have come out in previous years that aren't brand new, but I just decided, you know what, screw it. I'm just gonna rank them all. Who doesn't love a good ranking video, you know? So many of these did not come out this year, I'll be honest with you, but there's some really good palettes that I wanted to share with you, so I just threw them all into the ranking. If you are new here, my name is Rachel, welcome. And if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. This, of course, is just based on my own preference. These are my own rankings, so if I rank one of your favorite palettes at the bottom, it is not a personal dig to you at all whatsoever. And if you don't like the palettes I put at the top, I'm okay with it too. If you enjoy this video while you're watching it, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me out a lot when you do that. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would love if you would consider subscribing before you leave. Okay, coming in the very last spot, the very, very last spot, number 68, are these three palettes from e.l.f. and Dunkin Donuts, the collab that they did. So this is the Dunkin Dozen set. So I'm not gonna go on and on about these because I've talked about them so many times now on my channel. They're not good. It comes down to they don't perform. I don't feel like they would work for anybody of any skin tone. The mattes don't show up on me. The metallics are dry. I don't like the fact that you had to buy them all together. Like, what's the point? Why not just make a 12-pan palette, you know? But other than that, the quality of these are just not good. I was so excited for this collection and I was severely let down, but they're not good. So they come in at number 68. Coming in at number 67, I have the Essence Make Beauty Fun palette. So this came out, I wanna say like in the summertime. I picked it up from Ulta. On Ulta's website, the picture of this palette was very different than what I got arriving to my door. It is very, very mid-tone, and a lot of the shades look very similar in the pan as well as on the eyes. The only reason this one is above the e.l.f. and Dunkin Donuts one is I was able to create looks with this. I am able to work with it. It's not a completely useless palette, but it is definitely not in my preference, and it's definitely not anything I would suggest or recommend to anybody. The mattes are very sheer, like so incredibly sheer. They don't end up looking like they do in the pan, and the metallics are kind of strange. They're very thick, but they're not very shiny. I don't want to swatch. I told myself I wasn't going to swatch, but they're not good. They're just thick. I don't like them. They're not good. So that's why it comes in at number 67. The next palette I actually don't have. I decluttered it, but I will put up a picture right there. It is the Flower Beauty Forbidden Fruit palette. I picked this up in the beginning of the year. I did a full face of Flower Beauty, so I went on their website and I bought a whole bunch of stuff, and I'd never heard of this palette before. I, of course, had heard of the Desert Lights palette, or I actually owned it at that point. You know, there are other palettes that are in the store in CVS. I've seen people use them before, and I thought the quality, it seemed like people said the quality was good, but this palette was not good. The shimmers were so bad, and I know they can do a good shimmer formula from the Desert Lights palette, but they were very lackluster, very powdery, not shiny, not shimmery, not even satiny, just not good. The mattes were okay, like they were workable, but overall not a good palette. Coming in at number 65, I have the ColourPop Twist of Slate palette. If you've been here before, you know I've mentioned I really don't like this palette. I did get this in one of the mystery boxes I ordered from ColourPop this year, and I really just did not enjoy it at all. I think the mattes are very powdery. They don't have much pigment to them, and when I would use them on my eyes, they would basically just blend away into thin air, into nothingness. Not what I want. The shimmers also are not good, in my opinion. I mean, these two are pretty good. These two are very dry and lackluster. The cream shadow in here creased on me like crazy, so I really just didn't enjoy this one. I much prefer the That's Taupe palette as an alternative to this if you are looking for a cool tone palette from ColourPop. The next one I also decluttered, I no longer have it in my collection, I decluttered it earlier this year, is one of the quads from ColourPop. It's called Down to Earth. All four of the shades were matte shades, which I was so excited about. I love to have little matte palettes that I can travel with. as a companion palette, but the mattes were so incredibly powdery that they fell out on my eyes. And not only just during application, which I can handle because I do typically do my eyes first, so I can wipe away any fallout that happens, but throughout the day, I would get fallout under my eyes, and I absolutely don't want that at all whatsoever. So I would definitely suggest avoiding it. I don't even think that they sell it anymore. So that one's coming in at number 64. Coming in at number 63, I have one of the quads from the Unearthly Cosmetics mystery box. This is the one called Thirst. So unfortunately, this one just didn't work out for me. I did do a look with each of the 3 quads that came in the mystery box, and this is the only one that gave me trouble. I had a really hard time blending out this red shade. Very hard time. So hard, in fact, that I did my makeup. I had to wipe it off and redo it. I rarely do that. I try to make it work if I can. But this, I could not make work. So unfortunately, that's why it's coming in so low in the countdown. The next one I also decluttered, but I will put up a picture of it. It is the Milani Gilded Flora palette. So this came out the very end of 2021, and I did not receive it in the mail until January of 2022. When I saw the pictures that they showed of this palette, I was so excited. It looks so beautiful, like a beautiful spring palette, and I was very excited to try Milani's formula. I hadn't tried it in a while, and I really didn't like it. I mean, it wasn't terrible. Like, we're getting into the part where it's like, it's not terrible, but I don't really love it, you know? The mattes were very sheer. The metallics were very pretty, very sparkly, but the mattes were quite sheer, and they never really got to be what they looked like in the pan, and the deepest, darkest shade was not really that dark on the eyes, at least. So that's why it's coming in where it is. Okay, yeah, now we're getting to the stuff that's like, I like this stuff. I think it's pretty good. I mean, I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's bad, but all the bad ones we've already gone past now. So coming in at number 61, I have the Juvia's Place Nubian Coral. This did not come out this year, but I picked it up this year on sale at Ulta. I thought the color story was interesting. It's not really a color story I'm really gonna reach for that often, to be honest with you, but I thought it was different. But the reason it's coming in a little bit lower is the gray mattes in this are very hard pressed. So hard pressed that I can hardly pick them up on the brush. So that is kind of a bummer because those are the only 2 kind of different mattes from the rest of the ones that are more coral and brown. So that is a drawback for me. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out. So that's why it's where it is. And then coming in at number 60, I have the Oden's Eye Verdandi palette. I got this in the mystery box that I bought from Oden's Eye earlier this year. I don't think this is a bad palette. I just don't really love the color story. It doesn't call to me that much. It's a little bit mismatched to me. And I think the mattes in this are very hard pressed. I feel like I'm comparing this to their newer palettes that came out this year. And if I'm doing that, if I'm gonna compare, this doesn't compare in my opinion. I don't think it's bad at all. I like it. I kept it through my last declutter that you probably just saw, but it's not a favorite. Coming in at number 59, I have the Ollie's Lash Zone palette. This is from an indie brand called Ollie's Lashes that primarily makes lashes. You guessed it. I bought it because I thought the theme was really cool with it being like Twilight Zone themed, and I wanted to try out this indie brand that I never tried out before. I will say the shimmers in this are really nice. I love them. Some of them are multi-chromes. They're very shifty and fun and beautiful and impactful, but there's also some more like standard metallics up here if you don't want that extra textured look, which I don't want every time I do my makeup. So I appreciate the variety of textures in the shimmer shades, but the mattes in this just didn't perform that great, especially this row here of like the neutral mattes, which you would think would be easier to formulate. They weren't my favorite. They were a little bit harder to blend, but I did enjoy the shimmers, so that's why it's coming in at number 59. Okay, I hope I don't get too much hate for this one. But coming in at number 58, I have the Pat McGrath Blitz Astral Quad in Iconic Illumination. So this is just a quad of her special shades, her Blitz Astral shades. I like this palette. I think it's really pretty. Like I said, we're getting into a place where I like the palettes. They're not bad palettes. I just don't think it's worth the money. I can't put this any higher based on the money. I just can't. I don't know. It's okay. Maybe I just don't get it. That's totally fine. But there are other palettes I much enjoy over this palette. I like it, especially this shade up here is very sparkly and super pretty. The other 3 are pretty, but I mean, I don't know. I think I can get this quality for much less money, in my opinion. Coming in at number 57, I have the BH Cosmetics Party in Puerto Rico palette. So I picked up a whole bunch of BH Cosmetics palettes the end of last year. I bought some stuff from their Black Friday sale last year, and I picked up a lot of things throughout the year at TJ Maxx and Marshalls. I think this is one that I picked up. I don't know if I picked it up at TJ Maxx and Marshalls. I think I did. I love the color story of this. It's really bright and fun. It's perfect for the summertime, and I love a warm tone palette. I don't really think the quality of these shadows is up to par with some of their other palettes, in my opinion. The mattes are a lot more sheer. The shimmers aren't that shimmery or metallic. They're pretty lackluster, but it's not bad. It's not a bad palette, especially for the price, not a bad palette. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. Okay, coming in at number 60, I have the Oden's Eye Norns palette. Again, maybe a slightly unpopular opinion, but I really like the quality of the shimmers in this. So spectacular, super foiled, super metallic. There's even a multi-chrome in here. The mattes are okay. I don't think they're that pigmented. Again, I feel like a lot of the Oden's Eye palettes that have come out this year, this pales in comparison, in my opinion, to that stuff. As a color story as a whole, I don't really love this. I do find it's hard to put looks together for me personally. You know, I feel like I have to pull in other mattes to create a look, but overall it's a good palette. Coming in at number 55, I have the other two quads from the Unearthly Cosmetics mystery box. So I have the purple quad and I have the green quad. So the green quad is called Creepy Crawly and the purple is called Chilling. I like these a lot. They're kind of just in the middle in the sense of they're good. I like them. I don't really see myself reaching for them all the time just based on color story, but I didn't have a problem with the quality of either the mattes or the shimmers in this. They're fun. I really like these little quads, but color story wise, I don't really see myself reaching for these a ton. Next up, I have the Oden's Eye Alva palette. So this I also got in a mystery box, and the color story I love. I am a neutral lover at heart. I just am. I can't help it. It's deep within me, and this is giving me what I want for a color story. Now, for the formula, it's kind of what I said about Norns. Not my favorite matte formula, a little bit more on the sheer side. The shimmers are really pretty. These ones are a little more toppery, so I like that, but not my favorite quality palette, but color story-wise, I do really like it. Coming in at number 53, I have the ColourPop Witching Hour palette. I had to look at it, my bad. So this I got in a mystery box. I bought a lot of mystery boxes this year. So this one I like. I think all of the neutral shades are really pretty actually. I have absolutely no issue at all with them. The thing that I don't really love are these two metallics here, the more colorful metallics. I find that they're pretty dry and lackluster. Just not ones that I am going to reach for at all. The rest of the palette is wonderful and I actually really like it. So that's why it's coming in where it is. Okay, now we're getting into the stuff that's good. Like, I like this stuff. The quality is getting better, you know, and all that. So coming in at number 52, I have the LA Girl Under the Palms palette. I know it says Hey Hey Vacay. It's called Under the Palms. I don't know why they would do that, but they did. So I love this palette. I think it's really, really nice, especially for the price point. This is a drugstore palette. I really like the color story, warm tone neutrals and greens. Yes, sounds good to me. It goes very light to very deep and it's affordable because it's from LA Girl. My issue with this is I don't love the packaging. It's pretty heavy, it's pretty clunky, and I don't really like how many repeat shades are here. Like these two matte shades look the same. These two shimmer shades look the same. These two matte shades look the same. You kind of get where I'm going with this, right? They could have edited this down way more than they did. But other than that, I think it's a good palette. And if you saw it and you were interested in this color story, I would definitely say pick it up. Next palette is from BH Cosmetics, and this is the Low Key Love You palette. Quality-wise, stunning. I have another palette from this collection that is way closer to the front in the countdown. Fully enjoy the quality of this palette. If you put this in different packaging and told me this was from a high-end brand, I would believe you. Honestly, the quality of both the mattes and the shimmers is top notch. If you see any palettes at TJ Maxx or Marshalls in this collection, I would definitely say check them out because they're really beautiful. The only reason that this is a little bit lower is just it pulls pretty red on me. And I'm not a huge fan of red eyeshadows, as I've told you earlier before. But other than that, quality-wise, very good. And then coming in at number 50, I have the ColourPop Glow Getter palette. Guess where I got this? Say it with me. In a mystery box. So this is a neutral palette with a couple of pops in there. I thought this palette was really pretty. I thought the quality was really nice. I got some really beautiful looks out of it. I feel like I'm gonna get a pretty good use out of it because I am a neutral lover, but I do like these shimmers. They're just impactful enough without being messy, without looking heavy on the lids. They're really beautiful. And the mattes are a little bit more on the buildable side. They're not incredibly pigmented at first, but they do build to look like they do in the pan. So I really like this one a lot. Okay, coming in at number 49 is the sister palette to that last palette, the So Fly palette from ColourPop. I like this one. They kind of are interchangeable to me. They could be flipped back and forth because I feel like I get the same feelings, the same kind of looks from them. I do really like this. I like that there's a duochrome here. FYI is a duochrome. I think this is a beautiful neutral palette. Kind of everything I just said about the last palette is how I feel about this, but really like both the palettes. I think they were really, really good quality. Coming in at number 48, I have the ColourPop The Child palette. Packaging, love. Okay, he is adorable. And inside, color story is really pretty. I really like the shimmers in this. I think they did a really good job. I think generally with the Star Wars collabs, they do a really good job quality-wise, packaging-wise. The only reason I guess this is here is just the color story is not my favorite color story. I like it, but it's not like one that I'm in love with. So that's why it's coming in here, but still really good palette. Coming in at number 47, I have the Blend Bunny Surge. Oh, that's the wrong one. Coming in at number 47, I have the Blend Bunny Surge palette. So this is the first palette that the brand ever came out with, but I think this was the third or fourth palette that I actually bought from them. I first got the Blends palette and I fell in love with that palette, honestly. Really fell in love with it. And I wanted to check out more from the brand. I did pick this one up. The quality of this is unbelievable. The mattes are just so good. Blend Bunny mattes are some of my favorite mattes that are out there. I don't really like the shimmers in this. I don't feel like they're just my style. I don't know. They're like a little bit more on the subtle side-ish, but not in like a sparkly twinkly way, a little bit more in a satin way. And I don't really reach for neon shades. And I was so excited to get this palette. When I got it in and I went to go use it, I was always kind of confused, like how I should use it. I don't know, it just wasn't easy or organic for me to use, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's just a me thing. It's just me because quality-wise, it's good. I like it, but not my favorite Blend Bunny palette. Coming in at number 46, I have the Juvia's Place Bronzed Rustic palette. I love me a six pan. I think they're so like fun, cute, compact, easy to create a look, easy to create couple looks, and I like this one a lot. I love warm tone neutrals. I love this addition of this more like orangey red. I love that you have a couple of transition shades, a deepening out shade, and two metallics. I think it's really user friendly. I really like it. Quality's great, color story's great. It's great. Coming in at number 45 is actually one of the palettes that I'm wearing on my eyes right now. This is the Rock and Roll Beauty Purple Haze palette. So Rock and Roll Beauty is a new brand that came out this year that does collections in collaboration, I guess, with different musical artists. And their first collection was with Jimi Hendrix. I bought a lot of things from the collection and I reviewed it, and I picked this palette up, obviously, and I actually like this palette. I think it's good. I really like the color story. I don't really have a lot of cool tone purple palettes in my collection, and I like this one. I think it's a very different formula than any other palette that I have. The mattes are almost slippery, almost silky, not powdery at all, which makes them very buildable. So they're not super pigmented, but I like that with a cool tone purple palette, that it's not super scary to use. The shimmers in this are not super impactful, but I do like them. They're like, again, more silky, but they have sparkle particles in them. It's kind of hard to explain, but I do really like this palette. I thought it was pretty good. Is it like, you know, the same quality as Blend Bunny? No, but good. And I am interested in trying more from the brand if they come out with a collection that interests me. Coming in at number 44, I have the Blend Bunny Primal palette. This one did also come out this year, and it's kind of an extension to the Blends palette in terms of the rainbow mattes, but there is a row of shimmers at the bottom and a matte white and a matte black. I like this a lot. Same thing I've already said, the quality of the mattes is so unbelievable. I love that she does her gradient, light, mid-tone, deep, so you can either stick to columns to create looks, or you can mix and match. It's very user-friendly. I just don't really love the shimmers in this. Not really the same as the Surge palette. I think the quality of these shimmers is better, like sparkle-wise, impact-wise, but a lot of these shimmers are mid-tone to deep shimmers, and that's just not my preference. I wish that some of these were a little bit more on the lighter side, and I would have probably put this higher in the countdown, but really good palette nevertheless. Coming in at number 43 is the Unearthly Cosmetics In The Dark palette. So this was their holiday palette for 2021, but she relaunched it with a different shimmer. I think this was the shimmer that was different. And unfortunately, this is the only complaint I really have about this palette is I don't really like the shimmer. I didn't find it to be very shimmery. Again, it's more like thicker, not super impactful, a little bit heavier on the eyes. This shimmer up here is really, really pretty, and the mattes are so good. Usually when I see tones like this, I get a little scared that they're not gonna blend out super well on my eyes, but these I had no problem blending, and they showed up very pigmented. I really like this palette. If you like this color story and you're looking for mattes like this, I think that you would really enjoy this palette. Coming in at number 42, I have the Nomad Cosmetics Santa's Village palette. So this was their holiday collection that they just launched this year, and it's a different approach for them. It is a smaller palette, and the shimmers in this are different. They're very hard pressed, so they don't pick up super well. They are a little bit more on the toppery side, which actually I think they're really pretty. I think that they look really beautiful on the eyes. Kind of the only downside for me is the mattes. I don't really find myself wanting to pair these mattes together. The way that I've been using this is either as a companion palette with other mattes, or I've been just using one matte and one shimmer and calling it a day. So that's kind of my only complaint, but I do really like the palette. Coming in at number 41, I have the Natasha Denona Mini Gold. I am slowly collecting all of the minis, well, at least the minis that I like. I'm not gonna buy all of them, but I love Natasha Denona minis. I think they're my favorite palettes that she releases. They're small, they're travel friendly, they're curated. The quality of all the ones I've tried has been really good. And so this one is not a new one. This one came out a while ago, but it did go on sale recently for 50% off, so I picked it up and I like it. It's not my favorite mini, obviously. There are other minis that are coming down the line in this countdown, but I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it. I don't know why I don't love this one. I just feel like the looks that I get out of it are just okay, And I don't feel that way about the other minis. I feel like when I do use the other minis, I'm like, wow. So yeah, it's a good palette though. I like it, but it's just not my favorite. Coming in at number 40, I have the Nomad Cosmetics Bosque de Nuboso Monteverde palette. This came out, I think, kind of late summer, early fall. This is the best quality, in my opinion, best quality mattes and shimmers that Nomad has done in one palette. These mattes are so pigmented. They show up true to color, which is truly a feat with how bright and colorful these are. And these shimmers are so beautiful, sparkly, really impactful, not dry, really beautiful. The only reason this is going where it is the color story. It's a little bright, and for me, it's not one that I'm really gonna reach for a ton, but I do really like this palette a lot. And if you are a color lover and you wanna try Nomad, this is the palette I would definitely recommend to you. Okay, coming in at number 39, I have the Natasha Denona Mini Biba palette. I really love the Natasha Denona minis, which I've already said, but I love the more neutral ones. I just find that I get so much use out of them. I bring them traveling, and I just love a little compact neutral look. This one I find gives me more of like a rosy-ish toned neutral look, which I love. And I love the quality of these shadows. My only thing would be, I wish that there was just one more shimmer so that there would be 3 mattes and 2 shimmers. But other than that, I really love this palette. I think it's great. Coming in at number 38, I have the Adept Cosmetics Amunet palette, and this is the light version. I love Adept Cosmetics shimmers. They are like super impactful, creamy to the touch, unlike any other shimmers in my collection. And I really like the shimmers in this. I don't think all of the shimmers are that same formula that I was just talking about, which again, I like that there's a variety of different textures. I love the color story of this. My only thing is I don't love the mattes. They're not super pigmented, but still very good, still a great palette. I have to really like split hairs to put things where they are at right now. Coming in at number 37, I have the ColourPop Lush Life palette. I had heard great things about this palette, how amazing the quality was, and all of those things were true because the quality of this is wonderful, both mattes and shimmers. I brought this to Miami over the summer and it is a total Miami palette. Very tropical. You can still get like neutral looks, but you can also get colorful looks. All the tones in here I think are so fun, so user-friendly, really beautiful. It's a great palette. Coming in at number 36, I have the Unearthly Cosmetics Lore palette. This is the very first palette I tried from the brand, and I was swept away, captivated, and just in love with the brand after this, to be honest. The mattes in this are very pigmented, but also very blendable. The shimmers are really beautiful. I got really beautiful looks out of this. I remember I wore this to competition a couple of times because I do teach ballroom dancing and I loved my dramatic looks that I got out of this. It's just, I have other favorites that I like a little bit more, that's all. Coming in at number 35, I have the Unearthly Cosmetics Sleepover palette. This one did come out this year. I love the whole vibe of this collection. I think it's super fun. I bought some of the blushes as well from the collection that I really love, but the palette itself is really beautiful. I really like this shade Laughter here. It's like a white to gold duochrome. This pulls very, very pink, but I also did get a little bit more of like a deeper sultry look out of this as well. I really love Unearthly Cosmetics and this was a really fun one. I am so hot. I have stopped to fan myself a million times already during this video.
A few moments later.
How are you guys doing? Are you hanging in there? Are you still with me? If you are, I want to thank you so much. We are getting to the halfway point. We're just about at the halfway point now, actually. So hang in there. We're almost there. Okay, coming in at number 34, I have the Shroud Cosmetics and Batty Bean, the collab they did this year called Hallow Bean. I love this palette. You know what? I love Halloween. So already I'm into the theme. And the quality of these shadows is absolutely beautiful. I think it's a really fun and different Halloween, like a different spin on Halloween. You've got greens, you've got oranges, which I love orange. So already it's selling me. I don't think I've ever used the shade Black Flame because it's a super duper duper dark metallic, but all the other shades in this perform beautifully and it's just a fun Halloween palette. Coming in at number 33 is the other palette that I'm wearing on my eyes today, which is the Blend Buddy Cosmetics, the Dollhouse palette. This I really love. She came out with this at the beginning of the year. This is the neutral palette for the color lover and a color palette for the neutral lover. So it is like that muted, colorful palette to me as a neutral lover that I am able to like dip my toes into the colorful side. We've got the light to deep gradient, and the shimmers in this I think are an improvement over the Surge palette. It is a little bit more on the cool tone side, so I am usually more of a warm tone lover, but still really enjoy this palette a lot. Coming in at number 32, I have the Nomad Cosmetics Whistler Snow Lodge palette. This came out at the very beginning of 2022, and it is a wintry palette captured, isn't it? So beautiful. Ice Queen in the Snow Lodge drinking a hot cup of hot cocoa with some fuzzy boots and a blanket. That is me in this palette. The quality of these shadows is so beautiful. I'm not usually a blue lover, but I'm really attracted to this palette, to this color story. It goes light to deep. The mattes are buttery and pigmented. The shimmers are ultra sparkly. Love this one. Coming in at number 31, I have the Natasha Denona Mini Bronze. I'm boring, you guys. What can I say? I love me a warm tone palette. I just do. And this is a great one. Kind of everything I said about the Mini Biba applies. Very beautiful in terms of quality. It's very packable. It's very user-friendly. I just love it. Same thing I said about the Mini Biba is I wish there was one more shimmer, but it's okay. I would way prefer it to be more matte heavy than shimmer heavy. And I just love warm tone neutrals, and it's a great one. This next one coming in at number 30 was a sleeper for me. I didn't expect to love this as much as I did. I got it in a mystery box. It is the ColourPop Plush Like Me palette. So I love the packaging on this. It has like a velveteen front with these like, what are these called? Gosh, it's really escaping me, but it's got a beautiful design is what I'm trying to say. I think the palettes that are like this from ColourPop, they're like a little bit more weighted. They have designs on the mirror like the Limoncello palette, for example. That is the same packaging as this. And I feel like the quality of those palettes that are packaged like this is just kicked up a notch because the mattes are like so buttery, so blendable. The shimmers are so beautiful, more on the smooth side, so they're ultra flattering, gorgeous. This is like a rosy, neutral 90s grunge moment. I love this palette. One of my favorite ColourPop palettes, honestly. Coming in at number 29, I placed an order for the first time on Viseart's website, and this was one of the palettes I got. This is Petits for Violetta. I love how tiny and itty bitty and cute it is, and I love the packaging, how you open it like this, and then on the inside, it is just this beautiful quad that creates a smoky purple look. You've got two mattes. One of them has like shimmer particles in it, but basically it's a matte. You have a duochrome that goes purple to blue, and then a dark black, kind of like a blackened gray metallic, not super black, but like a blackened gray. I've really loved the quality of this palette. I loved looks that I've gotten from this palette. They're not a big variety of looks. Obviously, it's only a quad, but I really have enjoyed this quad, and I'm very excited to continue to purchase from Viseart because I've really enjoyed this quad. All right, coming in at number 28, I have the What's Up Beauty Geodes palette. I did receive this in PR, and when I used it, oh my gosh, these metallics are so beautiful, ultra sparkly. There's a lot of variety in terms of color for the shimmers. I like that you get neutral mattes because I just prefer that. It kind of keeps me in my comfort zone, but you can add that pop of color. Quality-wise, both the mattes and the metallics in this are stunning. The packaging is so beautiful, very, very slim and sleek. And they also came out with some nail polishes in the collection that match the eyeshadows. Obviously, this isn't about the nail polishes, but I just thought it was a cute little thing that they did. But really love this palette. Very excited to see what they come up with next year. Coming in at number 27, I have the Odenzai Soul Mana 2 palette. Ooh. This is like a dream. Like, I imagine if I'm in a dream and I'm floating in the clouds, past rainbows and sunshine. This is the color story. Like, I'm not a huge colorful person, but I really enjoyed the looks I got out of this. Even these blues and purples, like I said, I'm not a blue person. I loved how my looks came out using these blues. I like this warm tone row at the bottom. The black is so good. I used it as eyeliner a bunch of times, and it literally looks like a liquid eyeliner, like straight up black. Both the mattes and the shimmers in this are absolutely stunning quality. Beautiful, beautiful. If you like color, you'll love this palette. Coming in at number 26, I have the Blend Bunny All Done Up palette. I was so excited when she said she was releasing a more neutral leaning palette. I mean, you could still get more colorful looks out of this, more like muted colorful looks, but still really beautiful, more neutral leaning. I love the size of this palette. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit more curated, but you still get a lot of shadows in here. And these metallics are my favorite metallics she's done. They're ultra sparkly. They're a little messy, but very beautiful. I love that you're getting like all different tones of neutrals, warm tones, true like cool tones, true neutral tones. This is even like a green leaning row. Really beautiful. Quality, great. And I love that she did a neutral palette. This palette, now we're getting into the stuff that's really good. Like really, really, really good. Because this is one of my favorite palettes I tried this year. I can't get over it. I just can't. I love it. I kind of feel like I should have put this higher up in the countdown, but I'm not going back. And you know how many times I've flipped things around? I'm not doing it. So this is the BH Cosmetics Optimistic AF palette. Warm tone neutrals? Yes, give it to me. The quality of these shadows, like I said about the other one in this collection, it is a high-end formula in my opinion. Mattes, pigmented. Shimmers, impactful. yet flattering. I love that you get a inner corner highlight, you get a deepening out shade, you've got all different tones of orange, browns, yellows. So good. So good. One of the favorite palettes I tried this year. So good. Next up at number 24, I have the Gourmand Girls Spooked palette. This I did receive in PR as well. I love a Halloween palette. I can't help myself. It just gets me going. And I love the different colors that you get in here. It's not a typical Halloween palette. You're getting a lot. I love that you get a matte white and a matte black. The mattes in here are really beautiful, but the metallics are really what kicks it up a notch. Especially these three that are multi-chromes, Spirit, Pumpkin, and Trick. Ooh, they're so beautiful. And not only are they multi-chromes, but they're more like neutrals, but are multi-chromes. So that, yes, sign me up. Love this. And I'm so glad I was able to try Gourmand Girls for the first time this year. I'm so excited to see what they come up with next. The next palette that I want to talk about, what number 23, is the Nomad Fête de Provence palette. This is one of my favorite color stories that they've done for sure. Just beautiful. When they first showed pictures of this, I gasped, audibly gasped. Just was blown away. I think it is so beautiful just to even look at. Not even to use, just to look at. But then to use, it's also wonderful. Really beautiful for the springtime. And I just love Nomad as a brand. I think they do a great job with the packaging, with the theming. And this one did not disappoint. Coming in at number 22, I have the Kylov Impressionism palette. This was a palette I literally had to force myself to stop using this spring. I just wanted to keep using it over and over and over again. It's got all these different bright colors, but you also got some neutrals up top, and I love the quality and I love the formula of this brand. It's very different, super silky mattes, and the metallics are very smooth on the eyes, but still very impactful. So beautiful. I'm kind of concerned because all of their palettes are on like major sale on their website, and many of them are discontinued. I'm hoping they're not going out of business. That would really break my heart because I love their formula. Coming in at number 21, I have the Oden's Eye Merry Christmas palette. Both of these palettes, which the other one is obviously coming in lower in the countdown, are just stunning. Packaging, so well done as usual with Oden's Eye. And the formula of this is breathtaking. The mattes are just perfect. The shimmers, there's different kinds of textures of the shimmers in here. You've got super sparkly, you've got multi-chrome, you've got a little bit more on the smooth side. So I love that. The only reason I putting this one a little lower is I really love the bottom two rows a lot. The top two rows, apart from like this one, I'm not a huge fan of this tone of green. Like warm greens, and then this lime green was, I don't know, I tried to use it and I didn't really love it. Just color-wise, not quality-wise. But the bottom two rows, I love. But yeah, still an amazing palette. You can't get it anymore anyway, but gorgeous. All right, we're down to the top 20 now. This is the good stuff. Everything from here on out is truly amazing. Truly my favorites. My favorites, really no complaints about any of them, and these were the hardest ones to rank. How to I just didn't know. I just went with my instincts. So coming in at number 20, I have the Teresa is Lethal palette. Teresa is Dead and Lethal Cosmetics did a second collaboration. I love this palette. When I saw the color story, like the pictures of the color story, I wasn't sure if I was going to love it as much as I do, and I love it. I love it. Especially the shimmers, TV Dinner and Space Trash. Two of my favorite shimmers I think I have in my collection. This silver is like so beautiful, super sparkly, but it's not messy. There's not a ton of fallout. And this one is just like very early 2000s to me. It's so fun. She did an amazing job. Quality, top notch. Packaging, top notch. I also love Teresa. I love watching her videos. This is a great palette. I knew it had to be in my top 20. Coming in at number 19, I have the Unearthly Cosmetics Leather and Lace palette. Another just amazing palette. If I was gonna do a collaboration palette, I would pull from this one for inspiration because it's got everything I love. Warm tone neutrals, purples, and olive greens. What else could you ask for? I love that it goes light to deep. I love that you have a corresponding shimmer for each row, but it's mostly matte heavy. My preference. This shade Chantilly is like a yellow gold to a pink duochrome, which is perfect for the inner corner. I remember, like, with the rest of these palettes from here on out, I specifically remember wearing these palettes and looking at myself in the mirror and going, wow, I look so beautiful today. Like, honestly, I do remember wearing this and just being wowed by my looks. So yeah, that's when you know it's good. Coming in at number 18, I have the ColourPop Limoncello. I love this palette. I love this palette. First of all, packaging is stunning. And I love the color story. It is a neutral palette, but it's not. You know, it's got a little bit more. It's kicked up a notch. The mattes are blendable. They are pigmented. The shimmers are just stunning. Very smooth, but still sparkly, still pretty. There is a duochrome in here, easy peasy. It's like a gold to a yellow. I loved wearing this summer. I felt so pretty. And I heard that this is at TJ Maxx. And if it is, and you want it, you should grab it because it's so good. I don't know why they would discontinue this palette. I just realized I forgot a palette. What I mean is I didn't even put it in my ranking, but I know I tried it this year's the C3PO palette. I love this palette. I would probably put this more in like the 30s because I like it a lot. I love the palette. I think the quality is great. The actual packaging is great. I think they did a great job. It is pretty monochromatic. You know, you're gonna get a yellow gold look out of this, but still really good. I would put it kind of somewhere in the middle. Just a little side note. Coming in at number 17, I have the Ace Beauté Aura palette. This just came out, I'm holding it upside down. This just came out when? Black Friday? Something like that? Cyber Monday? Kind of what I said about leather and lace. Purple and olive greens are my favorite colors to wear besides neutrals. So I'm all about it. Quality of these mattes is beautiful, pigmented yet blendable, and the shimmers are stunning. There's kind of different formulas to these shimmers. This one, Entrance, is more of like a not super sparkly one, but more satiny. And then you've got ones that are a lot more on the sparkly side. I love the variety of tones, yet they somehow all work together. And every time I wore this palette, I loved my look. Very excited to continue trying from Ace Beauté. Coming in at number 16 is the Adept Cosmetics and Heather Austin palette. I've talked about this palette now so many times on my channel. These metallics are the most impactful, stunning, just crazy metallics I've ever seen. They are creamy to the touch like putty, and they just are so sparkly. Someone across the room is gonna be able to see your eyes and get blinded by it. Let's be real. They are so unique to my collection and so beautiful. The mattes are nice too, but the shimmers are really what draws me to this palette the most. She did such a good job with this palette. Such a good job, and I'm so glad I picked it up. Coming in at number 15, I have the Natasha Denona Mini Nude. I'm boring, like I've said. Now, this is not a new palette, but she did relaunch it for holiday with a brush for a gift set, and that's all it took for me to buy it, okay? The brush was good, it was fine, but this mini palette, it's so basic, but I don't know what it is. The looks that I get out of this are just so beautiful. I think I am gonna wear this on my wedding day. I'm like 99% sure, because it's just this beautiful, soft glam look that looks understated yet sophisticated. Oh my gosh. Absolutely love this palette. Coming in at number 4 is another Natasha Denona mini, and this is the Mini Star. This is my favorite mini. Like, I get chills just looking at it. Is that weird? I just love makeup so much, okay? This has like this je ne sais quoi, you know, this little something that is unexplainable. When I would wear this palette, I just would absolutely love my looks. They are sultry, but not too deep. They're understated, but not boring. It's more like well, you can pull this several different ways. You can keep it straight up neutral, but if you add this olive green, it pulls more olive green. And then you get a duochrome that's a blue to black, which we see this duochrome a lot with a lot of different brands, but I love smudging this on my lower lash line. It just gives a little extra something. My favorite Natasha Denona mini, but Mini Nude is very close second. Coming in at number 13, I have a palette that's no longer available and did not come out this year. It's the Oden's Eye Red Dragon palette. I love this palette so much. It's in collaboration with Judy, so look at her on the cover. She looks absolutely gorgeous. And then inside, it's a neutral palette, but it's got some greens. It's got a pop of red. This was the first palette. Now, I know in my last video where I said new brands I tried this year, this was actually the first palette I picked up. I realized it later, and then Angelica's palette was the palette I picked up second. But When I first tried this palette, this is my first time trying Oden's Eye, I was floored. I was like, are you joking me? Are you joking me? It was kind of my first dip into indie shadows, and I was sold. The mattes literally blend themselves. The metallics are so gorgeous. One of my favorite palettes in my collection. Coming in at number 12, I have the ColourPop and Star Wars palette. I skipped out on this initially, and I kept thinking about it, and I kept thinking about it, and I kept thinking about it, and I decided to pick it up. Oh, first of all, packaging, so good, so good. And then the color story, I think really reflects the movie poster. I think they did such a good job of capturing it while still making it eyeshadow appropriate, making it something that you could create looks with easily. They did an amazing job with this. Quality-wise, I think it's so good. The shimmers are so good. The mattes are really good. I love that you're getting a little bit of neutrals, but also some pops of color. It's interesting, it's fun, it's different. I love this palette. This is my favorite ColourPop palette that I own. Coming in at number 11, I have the Cosmic Brushes Serenity palette. First time trying this brand. I had heard so much about it. This palette got sold out, and they've restocked it so many times. They would restock it and automatically it would sell out, and I get why. These mattes are so good. Pigmented yet blendable, and when I say that, I mean it. Like, so easy to use, but they show up true to pan. I made one of my most favorite looks I've ever done on myself with this palette when I went to competition, and I loved it. I loved it. Now, color story wise, it's not my favorite color story. I think if this was a color story I could personally curate with this formula, it would be number one, because I love the formula, and that's really why it's coming in so high. We're in the top 10 now. We're in the top 10. All 10 of these are just breathtaking. Okay, let's just get to it. I don't need to go on and on. You get it. Coming in at number 10, I have the Oden's Eye and Angelica Nyqvist, the Hella palette. Packaging, of course, we get it. We don't have to say it every time, but they nail the packaging. This color story is stunning. I've gotten so many beautiful looks out of this, and she did such a great job coming up with a color story. I love the warm greens. I love that you've got some pops of pink. And this bottom row, I'm so glad she put this in here to make it deep, make it dark. The multi-chrome in here, double-sided, is absolutely beautiful. Everything I've said about Oden's Eye, mattes are blend themselves, shimmers are impactful, stunning. Number 10. Number 9 is not a new palette, and I bought it at the very, very, very end of 2021, and I really didn't use it till 2022. You know I love it. It's in the top 10. You get it, but I just love it. It's the ABH Norvina Volume 5. It's good, you guys. It's really good. I love it. Now, I don't know. I don't want to say it's primarily a purple palette. There's a lot of purple in the palette, which I love. I love purple. But you can also get neutral looks. That is like my ultimate favorite. When I can get colorful and neutral looks in a palette, I'm sold. That's my ultimate favorite thing. You've got some neutrals up here. You've got some warm tone neutrals. You've got some rosy tones. You've got warm purples. You've got cool purples. You've got a matte white. You've got deep dark mattes. There is one pressed glitter in here, which I'm not going to use, but the metallics in this are so stunning, impactful, beautiful, and the mattes blendable, beautiful. This is different than the ABH palettes, like the rectangular ones. I think these mattes are not as powdery, which I appreciate. Like, I'm not going to hit pan after using them 3 times, and they're not going to end up on my face, which can happen with ABH shadows. I love this palette so much. All right, coming in at number 8, I have the Patrick Ta Major Dimension Rose palette. Again, like I've said before now, whenever I would wear this palette, I would look at myself in the mirror and I would go, wow, you look good today, girl. You look good. Legitimately. I'm not kidding. People probably think I'm crazy. I love rosy tones, okay? I do. Mattes, pigmented and blendable. Super beautiful. The shimmers in this are definitely an improvement over his last palette that he released last year. They're creamier, but still sparkly, still twinkly. And the cream shades, I like the cream shades in this. I think they're really nice. They don't crease too badly on me, and I love them using them as a base. And I love Patrick Ta. I love the brand. I just do. Great palette. Coming in at number 7, I have the Oden's Eye Christmas Eve palette. I declare myself a warm tone lover, but something about this has a chokehold on me. I gasp every time I open this up and look at it. I think the color story is just beautiful. And I still can get some warmer looks out of this, more olivey yellow looks. This shade Gorgeous is one of my favorite shades in my entire collection. It's a multi-chrome. It shifts, I can't even describe it to you because it shifts every different color in the rainbow somehow. And I remember doing a look with that shadow and just being in awe. I mean, when makeup can stop you in your tracks and go, wow, that's when you know it's good because it's all been done before. I mean, or so we think until something like this comes out, right? Oden's eye quality, I've already told you 100 times in this video. Mattes, shimmers, beautiful, just great. And I love this one. Coming in at number 6 is the Nomad Hudson Valley palette. When I saw they were doing this, I was so freaking excited. I'm from New England, and I know this is Hudson Valley, New York, but same area in the country, right? The Northeast. I love the foliage. It gives me homesick vibes. I love this. This side of the palette is what my dreams are made of. The mattes in this are so pigmented, blendable, saturated, rich, and I love what they did with this where you've got the fall leaves, you've got your beautiful shimmers, all 3 of these shimmers are beautiful, and then you've got the side of the palette where it's like, it's the end of fall, going into winter. The leaves are coming off the trees. It's a little bit rainy. It's a little bit drab, you know, things like that. That's what I'm getting from this side of the palette. I think it's genius. I don't know if they had that in mind, but I'm telling myself that that's what it is. Packaging, great. If you want to try Nomad and you like neutrals, this is the palette I would suggest to you. Okay, top 5. Are you ready? Now, the reason I was a little hesitant to include palettes that didn't come out this year is because my top 5, only one of the top 5 is a palette that came out this year. All the rest of the palettes in the top 5 did not come out this year. So I hope that's not too disappointing, but I'm just trying to be honest and give you my true like favorites. So anyway, number 5 is the Nomad Haunted Europe palette. This is my favorite Nomad palette. The Hudson Valley is a close second, but this is my favorite and it is no longer available, unfortunately. I love the cover with the holographic little detail. I love the spooky theme, as I've said now 1,000 times, and this color story is, it makes me melt. It makes me melt. It's dark, it's dramatic, but it's also light. You can create neutral looks. Warm neutrals, cool neutrals, greens, purples, you got a pop of red. Embossings on the pan are so fun. I find myself so drawn to this color story, and the quality of the shadows, in my opinion, is very, very good. Both the mattes and the metallics. I'm so sad this isn't available anymore, but I'm so glad I got my hands on it this year. Coming in at number 4 is a palette that I literally did not expect to love at all. I won it in a giveaway, and I wasn't really that excited. I mean, I was excited to win the giveaway, but I was like, you know, how much use am I really going to get out of this palette? It's one of my most used palettes this year. It is the Blend Bunny Blends palette. It's all matte and it's a rainbow palette. When I first tried this palette, I was like, are you joking me? Are you joking me? The mattes are just pigmented yet blendable. PYB, we get it. Anytime I needed a shade that was not in a palette, I would reach into this one. Do I need a matte white? Boom. A matte black? Boom. Any color that I might be missing in a palette, I would be reaching for this. And it doesn't even look like I've used it that much because it's not super powdery. There's not fallout, but still they're pigmented. I don't know how she does it. This is my favorite Blend Bunny palette, mostly because it was my first one. It's how I fell in love with the brand. But overall, I just love her matte formula. And if I can get a palette full of her mattes, I'm happy for it. Coming in at number 3, I have the Unearthly Cosmetics Fall Magic palette. Again, if I was gonna create my own collab palette or something like that, I would be pulling from this for inspiration. This to me is different than the other Unearthly Cosmetics palettes. And I do love all my other Unearthly palettes, but the formula of these shimmers is different than the other ones. These ones are like wet to the touch. Oh my gosh. And multi-chromes, a lot of these are multi-chromes. Oh, that one's not. Magic multi-chrome. Oh my gosh. I think 3 of these are multi-chromes. Yes, 3 of them are multi-chromes. The shimmers, look at them. The mattes are also really, really beautiful. I love that they're muted colors. So you can get a neutral look, but you can also get a colorful look, which I love. They're blendable, they are beautiful. I like that they have smaller pans compared to their other palettes. Favorite Unearthly palette for sure. Okay, so I told you in my top 5, there was only one palette that came out this year. And so the number 2 palette is that palette. So this is my favorite palette that launched this year in 2022 because the number 1 palette didn't. So coming in at number 2, or my favorite palette that launched this year, the number 1, is the Natasha Denona My Dream palette. I'm gonna repeat myself again. If I were gonna make a palette, I would be pulling from this one for inspiration. Oh my gosh, she's beautiful. Light to deep. There's a multi-chrome, which I think is beautiful. I think it's a really pretty one. Is it multi or is it duo? Anyway, it's a shifty shade. You get warm tone looks. You get cool tone looks. You get purple looks. Every single shadow in here performs absolutely beautifully. I love this color story. It's my favorite color story she's done. If I could marry this palette, I would. If you've been on the fence about it, I think you should consider it because it's stunning. Coming in at number 1, can I get a drum roll, please? Like I said, this palette did not launch this year, but I tried it this year for the first time, and I am so late to the game on this one, and so many of you probably already own this palette or have it. I get it. It is the Tiny Marvels palette from Cindy Grace and Mel Thompson. They did such an unbelievable job with this palette. Now, I honestly, before Mel's passing, I did not follow her or subscribe to her, not because of any other reason besides I didn't really know about her. I didn't know who she was. And after discovering her, I've watched her videos and she seems like such a wonderful, wonderful person. I'm so glad that I have this palette. This is my first time trying Cindy Grace and I am fully in love with the mattes and the shimmers. The mattes are just beautiful, blendable, pigmented. The shimmers are more of that smooth type of formula, but still very impactful. Every time I wore this palette, I loved my look. And I did a look one time with the shade Scarab, and I wore it in a Walmart video. And I think I told you guys this before, but I wore it in a Walmart video and I got so many comments. I've never had so many comments on my makeup than I did in that video. And it's not even a makeup video, it was a clothing video. So I also have been keeping this at the top drawer of my desk for the shade Web. It is like my perfect inner corner shade. This was a subscriber gift from Renee. So thank you, Renee, so much for giving me my number 1 palette. I'm so glad I tried this palette. I'm so impressed with it. And that's why it's at number 1. All right, you guys. That was a really long video. If you're still here, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. And so I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm hoping to upload this on New Year's Day so that maybe while you're just laying around, you could catch up and see my ranking. Please leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with my rankings? Do you not agree with my rankings? What was your favorite palette that you tried this year? I would love to know. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me out a lot when you do that. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would love if you would consider subscribing before you leave. I do upload videos weekly, both beauty and fashion videos, and I would love to see you back on my channel again. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.